Yes, unless somebody explicitly asks for Coke.
Pepsi's better anyway.
God, I'm having
So true.
flashbacks. I left my job today.
Oh no.
Oh, I thought that was the
As in,
start of a sentence.
no, as in like I left. I'm not there right now.
Oh,
Do you have
Oh,
Coke Zero?
I thought you meant you quit your
Vegan
job
pizza?
today.
No. I actually lasted longer than the manager whose main mission was to ruin my life.
you go,
Fair.
girl. You won.
I
Wait,
did win.
so you are still employed there, though?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah, my favorite manager actually just got fired for embezzling
Ooh.
That's fine.
thousands of dollars from our boss, who is legitimately like a good boss as far as bosses go.
damn.
Is that why they
Yeah.
were your favorite?
No, he was my favorite because he vouched for me and he defended me. And now he's gone.
I'm sure that can only mean good things for the work environment. All right, and on that happy note, we're 10 seconds from time, so we'll just get started. So, hello, everybody. Old friends, new friends, old friends who departed and returned to be trialed as new friends. Welcome back to Horizons Prague. Things are looking up for us over the last expansion. We were so very successful in growing the team, growing our skills, and progging further than Horizon has ever even imagined progging before that point, let alone succeeded in getting there. We didn't get our cutting edge last expansion, but we are going to this expansion. We are on pace easily. To do that, we're going to need to go a little faster, a little harder, a little smarter than we have before. So we're going to be putting extra emphasis on organization, extra emphasis on efficiency in prog nights, and making sure that we are not wasting time, not waffling, getting shit done when we are setting aside the time to get shit done. And outside of the prog nights, we have some, I don't want to say requirements, but sort of reminders and important things to be aware of. So let's just dive right in. All of the information that you could possibly need about the Prog team will be and will always be in our new Prog info channel. And I'd like to really highlight some of the stuff that we've got in there for the people who are going to nod and smile and then not ever look at it again. So it's stream time. Click. That number should go up to 25. All right. When you go to the Prog info channel, there is a giant wall of information. At the very top, I have my boss notes. You may or may not find the notes helpful, but it is also where our raid plans are going to be saved for quick reference at any point for each fight. It's quick and easy to navigate around. I'll be listing the changes between normal and heroic and the changes between heroic and mythic. And I'll also be putting some strategy notes for things that are not extremely obvious, like group soak. I'm not going to tell you to go stand in the group soak. But for Ulgrax on Mythic, you can't do two group soaks in a row. How are we going to handle that? Split the raid into odds and evens. Notes like that are going to be in the raid section at the top. Below that, we have our requirements, the list of add-ons that you need to have to be on the Prog team, the list of weak auras that you need to have. You'll note that we don't have any required raid weak aura this season. We will be using the liquid weak aura when it comes out, but to start the season, it doesn't seem necessary to have one, so we're not going to use one. I will let you know if that changes. We have the rules on the attendance channel. We have the rules on simming and how to do sims. We have lots of information on how we're handling the loot this season, how we build a mythic roster, because only 20 players are allowed in a mythic instance, so some people do have to be benched, and there's a big giant info dump that Ellie put together on effectively how we handle it, if anyone's confused. And there's information about our Mythic Plus keys requirements. Sorry, I mean the Mythic Plus incentive program. We're changing up our Mythic Plus requirement this season. Sometimes people don't have time to do a whole whack of keys, and some people do tons and tons and tons of keys. And we wanted to make sure that if you're not doing keys, that's not great, but if you can keep yourself geared, that's okay. If you are doing keys, though, you will be rewarded. So we have an incentive program. If you do 2 slots worth of keys with a decent eye level, which we have set to be, I believe, is that true? Is that 4 10s?
Yes.
Okay,
That's a lot of 10s.
it's a lot of 10s. If you get a second slot, a mythic track slot in your dungeon row, you will have roster priority over people who did not do keys. When we were putting together the Mythic Raid roster for Tuesday and Thursday that week, if on the previous week you did 4 or more keys, you will have priority over people who do not complete 4 or more keys.
4 or more plus 10s.
Specifically 10s, because the loot matters. If you do a full row of 8 keys, if you do 4 10s and then 4 7s or 4 8s or 4 9s, or if you do 8 10s or higher, we have a lovely new reward system called Spider Killing Points. SKP. This is a creative and new idea. Nobody has ever thought of this before. Any resemblance to other systems is purely coincidental. We have a big long write-up on how SKP is going to work in the loot rules. But the short of it is we'll be tallying and tracking the SKP that people on the roster are collecting week over week. And when you are rolling for loot using the RC Loot Council add-on in-game, you can note if you're going to be spending an SKP on a roll. Your SKP is effectively being used as a bidding system. If I've gathered up 6 SKP, and I really, really, really want that Silken Court trinket, I can bid 6 SKP on the trinket. If no one else bids SKP, or nobody else beats me in that bid, I will spend the 6 points, and I get the trinket. It's mine.
I have a question.
Please.
If you bid points and you lose, you keep your points?
You do. The points are only spent when you win. Think like writing down your bid in a silent auction. You don't actually give them the money until you win the auction.
I have another question, kind of similar.
Mhm.
What if two people bid and they have the exact same amount of points?
If there is a tie on the SKP, it goes to public auction.
There's the tiebreakers down below.
How far down below?
Right
Oh, I
there
see.
on scenarios under loot priority.
There it goes. Thank you. Yes. So, if you're not willing to bid higher, if it's a tie, you can bid higher. But if you're not willing to bid higher, then we will look at the usual evaluation requirements. How good is it for you short term? How good is it for you long term? Is it your class's BIS? Is it your class's I need this item right now because I have nothing? Lots of factors. That's a loot master problem. The SKP will override the standard need outside of very particular cases. You cannot use SKP to complete your tier set. Tier sets, we are prioritizing getting them all finished for everyone at an effective rate. We have some notes on that somewhere up here. Yes, we do. We'll be trying to complete bonuses as a top priority. You cannot say if you have your 4 set done, but you really want that 5th piece in order to swap something so you can craft something. You can't use SKP to steal a tier piece from somebody who doesn't have a finished set. It's basically just for more normal pieces. If you know you really want that particular piece, you can bid on it. And the people who are running tons and tons of keys, this is for you. This is so that you're not worried about the WoW audit sims, the wish lists showing, oh, well, they're already geared. They don't need any loot. You can still get loot.
Is there a cap on the amount of points you can get each week?
Yes, technically. If you do a full row of dungeon in your vault, if the 3rd slot is a myth track slot, you get 2 points. If the 3rd slot is a hero track slot, you get 1 point. You cannot get more than 2 points a week, but you can bank them for later.
Okay, that's a note. So total each week you can get up to 2 points that you can
Yes.
just save. Okay.
And I expect to see quite a few people on the leaderboard who will have 2 points after the first week. Ellie, do we still have that publicly posted, the leaderboard?
Yeah, M plus IP vaults.
Thank you. Right now we have some filler information, but this will be basically the tracker of how many points people have. It'll be tallied at the end of Monday or the start of Tuesday based on what the last week's vault was, and you can see the vault information on WoW Audit. I'll touch on that shortly.
Question about when an item is just kind of better on something, like I'm thinking of like a leech item on a healer.
Mhm.
How will that work? Is it just not special and it'll just follow the exact same?
There's some subjectivity to it, and we're going to be trying to evaluate things in a fair and objective way. And if it comes to the SKP side, if somebody is bidding SKP on something that is absolutely not worth them having, we're just going to veto that bid. But when it's something a little bit tighter, like a crit mastery piece with leech, cloth pants, let's say, that's a goat holy priest item, obviously. But it's also a really good item for destruction or arcane. If the DPS bids SKP on it and the healer doesn't, it would probably go to the DPS.
And if I'm understanding correctly, if I wanted that, would I get a chance to counter bid? Or is it just if the first round of bids happen and I never bid the first round, then I don't get a chance to bid on it?
If nobody bids in the first round, then it just gets distributed. If anybody bids in the first round, then we ask if anybody else wants to bid.
Cool. Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't communicate that clearly in the first place. As soon as SKP are introduced, everybody is aware that SKP have been introduced for that role.
And you can see in the notes, in the loot window, where you see everybody's rolls and bids and stuff. If you look at their notes, you'll see if they're bidding anything.
Okay, so then I have a follow-up question then.
Mhm.
Because I thought that the whole premise was that it was kind of like silent auction based, and it sounded like in the beginning that if, like, let's say I bid 5 and somebody else bid 4, that it would go to me. But doesn't that technically mean that, like, I could in theory get sniped because people can see how much I chose to bid at first?
You can get
If
sniped to the degree that somebody else has been working as hard as you for the item that you want.
You cannot get sniped. If you bid 4, somebody sees you bid 4, and then they bid 5, then before the loot is distributed will call to see if you want to increase your bid or if anybody else wants to bid higher than
Okay, thank you for the
whatever
clarification.
they added to. Yeah.
We'll talk more about it as the points start coming into play in a couple
Mhm.
weeks. This won't come into effect until Mythic Plus starts, so the first raid day where this will have any impact is the 24th. But just raising awareness and opening up the Q&A so that people can be super clear on how this will work and avoid any confusion and avoid any angies.
I have a quick question.
Mhm.
Does Gumber Knights outrank KSP or SKP?
If Gumber is in for a mythic boss that we are progging on and have not killed before, and we kill it on the first pull that Gumber is present, the standing agreement is all loot does go to Gumber. That will not be overridden. That is a Horizon fundamental rule, and the prog team would erupt into chaos if we didn't follow this.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Good to confirm. All right. We have as well in our prog info channel, we do have some of the guidelines on the attendance. I want to really emphasize with everybody here and listening to my voice, before any given raid night, you must set your status in the attendance channel at least 24 hours before the raid starts. Pacific time, that means Monday night at 5 p.m., Wednesday night at 5 p.m. We will be checking this and building the roster for the following day. If you are marked as tentative, we are not, unless you have told us in the thread when you plan to arrive or if you will have more information, you don't need to be specific. You can say, I don't know if I'll make it, I'll let you know Tuesday morning. That's okay. If you are late and you say, I'll be there an hour and a half late, you don't have to give a reason, you just have to communicate that that's what's happening and we can work around it. If you are non-communicative and tentative, late, or not marked at all, you're not going to be in for that raid. We are hardlining this rule. Starting this season, there is not going to be any leeway for this. If we have to cancel a fucking raid because a few people weren't clear enough and we didn't build the roster, hopefully that'll be enough of a reminder that you need to communicate. To be on the prog team, you have to be able to communicate with the prog team and with the raid leaders. And just to be clear, I appreciate communications with their DMs to me, but using the thread is better because I'm not constantly checking my DMs. Sometimes Ellie is working on the roster. Sometimes we're gathering information and working collaboratively as the officer team to build the roster. I don't necessarily have time to go through all my DMs. You don't need to give personal information in the thread, just an update in the thread is good enough. If you want to share personal information as well with some reasoning, to the degree you're comfortable with, you can share it with me in a private message, but that is not a requirement in any way, shape, or form for any reason. Just post in the thread. If there isn't a thread, you can create a thread. I don't think this character has access to create thread. Oh, it's because there's already a thread. You can create a thread by clicking the thread button on a post if there isn't already a thread. And then you can type your message. There's a new feature in WoW Audit that we're probably going to roll out this season, which is that you're going to get a DM reminder if you have not signed up yet, an hour before the deadline. We're an hour, right, Ellie? Is that what we're looking at?
Yep.
So Pacific time, Monday, 4 p.m., 1 hour before 24-hour deadline. If you are unknown or tentative, you're going to get a robo DM reminding you to please sign up. so that we don't have to keep doing this.
Yeah, so if you don't want those dams, just sign up earlier.
Yeah.
Than the deadline.
If you know really far in advance that you are definitely going to make it or definitely not going to make it because you've got plans, you're going to someone's wedding, you're going to your own wedding, you're out of town for the week. If you go to WoW Audit, which you can get to just by clicking any one of these attendance links or going to wowaudit.com. There's a little bit more admin things here than you will see, but you can look on the calendar and you can look ahead to future raids. And I can click on this and I can go, I'm going to be absent, gone to Florida. That will put you as absent for that post way in advance. It'll also ping that message to the officers to let us know.
I'd like
Really,
to
really
I
good.
signed up already.
Yes, Zara has signed up already, you might notice. How did Zara do that? You can sign up to any future raids in the upcoming tab. If you know in advance, you can mass sign up to these raids. Mark yourself as present for a long period of time, or, oh, I'm going to be away this week. Mark myself as absent for these two. So I'm going to mark myself as present for all the first 2 weeks. There's my little check mark saying that I'm there, and there I am, queued up, ready to go. This site also is a public source for the item wish lists, which is the simulation, the raid bots droptimizers getting uploaded here. There's a new feature where it's automatically checking the item level track of every person's items and seeing if just at a baseline this would be a track upgrade for every item. But once we start uploading sims, you'll be able to look boss over boss over boss at, say, I don't know, maybe the Spy Master's Web from Silken Court. That might be popular. You'll be able to see how many people want it and how much of a DPS upgrade it will be for them. This is public information. Anyone can see this. This will be attached to Droptimizer sims, which need to be uploaded ideally before raid starts every week. When you've opened your vault and you've grabbed your shit, go run a Droptimizer sim for the raid. Attach it to here. Personal, you paste the link to your sim, you click go, and it puts all the items that you want into a personal wish list that gets loaded into this page. You might have also noticed this box up here. RC Loot Council integration. They've just, and I mean just, come out with a new add-on that will plug this information in-game into RC Loot Council so that we can see it. So that is going to be a new add-on that gets added to our required add-ons list once we know that it works.
So the way that add-on works, only the Loot Master needs the add-on in the desktop client. If you want to see that information, you can also download the add-on, but it's not required for the integration to work.
Okay. That's actually, I didn't read up on it. Okay. So you don't need this one, but if you want to see,
you want it.
Yeah. It's actually really nice though, because when the loot pops up, it'll show you how much of a DPS upgrade any item is when it drops, like right here in front of you, which can help your decision making potentially. All right.
Questions on any of that?
Sign-ups, attendance, wish lists.
Can you go over the first 20 minutes of whatever you talked about? Because I so forgot.
No.
I'm recording. I'll post it later.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, my bad, guys.
And also healers sim uploads are for you also, not just DPS.
Yep. The sim APLs are still sort of work in progress across the board, but pretty soon Questionably Epic will be online and ready to go.
It's been updated recently. It's getting better.
Okay. Last I checked, which was like a couple days ago, it wasn't ready yet for all of them, but
It's getting really close.
we have handy dandy how to upload sim guides for DPS and healers. It's great. Also tanks. Look at these high quality boxes. All right. So all of that wrapped up in a bow on the Prog info channel. We have some newcomers, some new trials, and some previous members of the team who are looking to make a glorious comeback. And I just kind of want to clarify a little bit about ideally how the trial process is going to work. This is not super set in stone at this point, but basically, to start the season, we have our list of trials that expressed interest and applied by the previous August deadline with that form that I put out. That filled us up to a 30-player roster for Heroic, tentatively. So when the raid drops next week, we are bringing in everybody. Everybody will be in for normal. We'll do a quick assessment to see how things are going. If it's clear that you are not quite ready for Heroic and Mythic at this point, we will probably not bring you along for Heroic, and we will have a chat with you. We'll directly communicate some points on what needs work, what was good, what needs to be improved. As we go through Heroic first week, if players are struggling, and this is not limited to trials, this is also rostered members. If players are really struggling on certain bosses, you might be asked to step out temporarily so that we can push a little faster through the raid. I don't know if it's reasonable with the tuning, but it would be really cool to get a week 1 AOTC, so that's what I would like to push for. That's going to come with the cost of everybody needing to be really on their A game. If you're worried about that because you're thinking, oh, but we haven't seen the bosses yet, we don't know what they do, come back here in 2 days because we're going to go through a classroom session on Thursday this week to review every single boss, how they work, at least according to what we know from the Dungeon Journal and from beta, roughly what strategy we think we're going to do on every single boss. Get it into your head in advance, watch some guides, be ready to go on Tuesday so we can zip through the whole thing. But back on the trial note. At the end of the first week, we'll be spending quite a bit of time this weekend, or that weekend, sort of going over performance, going over how you did throughput-wise, DPS and HPS, how you did with mechanics and adapting, how you were in terms of following the rules of the team. That shouldn't be something that has to be considered, but occasionally does. We should have an idea of whether you will continue to be on the roster or not the first weekend. I commit that we will have a locked-in answer of whether you will be on the roster or not by the second weekend. If you are not making the Mythic roster, and that's not just 20 players, we have a full roster that we pull from to create their Mythic team every night. If you are not quite demonstrating the mechanics, performance, or the class knowledge required to survive early Mythic, you will not be remaining on the team. That is not a never on the team. That is just a for the moment not on the team. Strongly, strongly, strongly encourage players who don't make the team but would really like to push and improve themselves to go play with Community Raid and get better and better. Because we'll be watching. And as you get better, if you express interest in trying out for the team again, you can. If you are cut from the team, we'll be giving you some reason why. DPS, mechanics, you died on every boss. Whatever the reason, we'll try to give you some idea. If you demonstrate that you are mechanically aware, performing at least decently for new expansion class performance, and most importantly, you show that you are willing and able to improve, welcome to Prog. If you want help with that improvement, and again, this is not just for trials, we gave Nambers an orange name specifically because he's my log review guy. He's my study up on shit guy. If you are trying to figure out how to get better and you haven't really got any direction, talk to Nambers. If he knows the class, he'll help you, and if he doesn't, he'll point to where you need to go, or he'll learn the class and help you. And Nambers, please feel free to jump in and say, no, fuck you, if you don't want to do that. But
I've played basically every class at like a fairly high level, and I'm very comfortable learning things. So come to me for whatever you need.
Nambers is a big theory crafting and log analysis king. And I encourage anybody who wants help to poke him. Last point that I wanted to raise is just sort of being aware of the different raid-related Discord channels in the server. Our logs are going to be posted to Warcraft logs every night. This will be mixed in with Community Raid and Prog logs, but you'll always be able to access the logs and look at it yourself. If you want to go really deep dive, discuss something, that's what logs review is for. Raid chat is a bit more broad discussion for everyone in the guild, but we have a special Prog discussion channel for the Prog team. Try to keep this on topic as best as we can. Keep this about the raid or about the Prog team. Memes and shitposts are fun, but this is not the place for them. We got lots of places for shitposts. We got lots and lots and lots of places for shitposts. Keep it out of Prog discussion. Some people actually put notifications on for this because they think it matters. Speaking of notifications on for Prog announcements, notifications on for the attendance channel. If I'm trying to get your attention, it's going to be in Prog announcements, and you need to answer the damn attendance bot. Notifications on. Just those two. You can mute Discord for everything else, but you need to be aware when there's a new message in these two channels. With that, I've covered all the topics that I really wanted to raise tonight. The floor is open for Q&A.
How many new people we have coming to trial this season or this X pack so far?
Announcements. Yeah.
How we do?
We have a small little list of our new and returning trial gang.
Yeah. I thought it was on the 20th. I didn't know if that was fully updated. There's been changes since that. And,
There's been class changes. There have not been player changes, at least yet. The specific classes that people are playing, a few of these have changed around, and updating it is a pain because it has to be a new message. You can't edit an image.
That's dumb.
Only one evoker. Poop.
How about 0?
How about one?
How about one?
We'll be updating that one, that one, that one.
Matt, you swap over to your mage.
Yeah, pretty much.
God damn it.
Oh, is Psycho playing the book?
So be
Very
nice to
likely.
Psycho if you want to get Og buffs.
Quick question, I guess, or not question per se, but do you want to go over who's going to be providing materials and the whatnot for Prog Raid?
That's a good question. We haven't locked all of that in just yet. I know we have a few people who are at the point of being able to craft cauldrons once that's viable. Really bloody expensive though.
Yeah, I already have the recipe and stuff.
Yeah,
It's
we
not
probably
being
won't
poured.
be doing cauldrons for the first couple weeks, but we should have feasts and like health pots and stuff ready.
Cool.
I haven't.
Just basic enchants required for the first week. Don't necessarily get the 3-star stupid expensive stuff for normal and heroic unless you're trying real hard.
Yeah, while the race to world first is going on and the first few weeks of the season, every price is going to be absolutely through the roof. Supply and demand is crazy at the start of a new expansion. Don't break the bank for micro gains, but do spend a little bit of gold on the basics. Ring enchants, bracer, consumables like health potions are absolutely going to be required. We definitely check if people are using health potions or not.
Yeah. Speaking of everything being stupid expensive, if you have any materials that you're not using, throw them in the guild bank because we have crafters that are crafting for us.
Please.
So we can use like a rank 2 flask for a bit.
Oh,
Okay.
God, Jesus, yes.
I'm probably going to be using power pots from last expansion.
I will say, as an alchemist, it feels like the power pots, the really basic ones, are not too crazy to make.
Okay.
They seem pretty cheap, actually. The basic ones, the ones that give you all of the file effects you don't have active.
Yeah, let me know if you need stuff.
Send some guild orders for pots and shit. Get people there weekly.
Should be able to 3-star all the base enchants for just map price as well.
Sweet. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just map prices being ridiculous.
Yeah, right now it's
I guess
pretty
fair.
bad.
Also,
But-
any green BOEs you don't want, put in there.
Yeah, chuck all your BOEs into the bank or just mail them to neighbors.
That's my dust.
You don't have to. You can dust your own shit, but if anybody else is not an enchanter and not using it,
My priest is spec'd into dust disenchanting. If anyone wants to send it over, I'll just send back what I disenchant. Matt priest.
Yeah, do map for dust over me. I have all epic enchanting right now.
okay, good to know. Nambers is our crafter and Matt is our DEer then. Sweet.
Are we doing loot council or loot master? So, at this point,
At this, go ahead.
It's the same as the end of last season, with the addition of SKP.
You're not going to have that measured for the first week, though, right? So
Won't have what measured?
the SKP or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it'll just be baseline what you're used to for loot going into the first week.
Does that answer your question, Psycho?
Yeah.
Kind of relatedly, I would like us to do what we did in Amir Drasil again, where before raid time, we slapped together a Horde and Alliance LFR queue squad. We can basically min-max how much loot goes to our team versus randos instead of everybody doing an LFR by themselves at some point in the week. It's mostly to get that one single tier piece that drops off of the third boss of the wing, but Doesn't take very long. We'll probably queue that at like 20 minutes before raids start. So anybody who's able to get on Tuesday at our forming up 4:30 time, hop on early, form them groups, smash an LFR out, and then go into normal at start time.
We'll likely do that first 2 weeks.
Yeah. Be able to get some free tier pieces.
Did you mention how we're gonna decide like the first tier piece that goes out? I couldn't see the. Okay.
So everybody's gonna have a catalyst charge already.
Oh, so then yeah, it's technically your 2 set.
So
Yeah.
everybody is pretty much rolling for 2 set at that point, and then so
Fair.
it's just based on the relative strength. So that little paragraph underneath the 2, 4, 2, 3 bit. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Just sort of to clarify that a little bit more for people who weren't around or people who fucked it up every single time and were around. When a tier piece drops, the RC Loot Council window that you see, instead of saying main spec, off spec, it's going to say, is this my 4th piece, my 2nd piece, my 3rd piece, my 5th piece? What this means is if you won this item, how many pieces would you have? Counting your catalyst charges, counting your KSM token.
And anything you have in the vault. There's a bunch of examples at the bottom of that one.
If you have a tier piece in your vault, and you have your catalyst charge ready, and you have your AOTC token, then if a piece that drops in raid is not the same piece that's in your vault right now, so theoretically you could turn that all of those theoretical pieces into 4-piece, you are rolling for 4 set. Because that item would complete your 4 set, even though you have no tier pieces right now. With all of the resources available to you, you could make a 4 set, so that would be the roll. Goodness, everything must be so clear and obvious. So few questions.
Is there a recommended minimum eye level for the first week?
Immunity Raid has set the minimum eye level on Wednesday to 580. I would try to push as high as you reasonably can over the next week. Spend down some, they're not flight stones, they're
Valor Stone.
Valor stones. Spend your shitty weathered crests that you're not going to use once the raid opens because they're worthless.
Buy the renown pieces.
If you can afford to buy a bunch of renown pieces, the veteran track stuff is going to be a big gain early on.
And we get what, 1 or 2 crafted by raid start?
You'll have this. The week raid opens will complete a 2nd spark. If you're 100% sure you know what you're doing with it, go for it. But be careful because right now embellishment tuning is all the fuck over the place and it's likely to get changed. And there's some weird shit like the embellishments that go on weapons. You might not know if you're crafting a 2-handed or a 1-handed for casters. Things like that. Be cautious, but try to balance long-term versus short-term because we do need some short-term power to actually clear the raid and get the loot to snowball us further.
Yeah, it is the first day of a raid, so numbers will hit harder than season 2 and season 3.
Something like about half of us, we went in end of last season to that meme run of Amir Drasil where everybody was required to be eye level 480-ish or below, going into Heroic Awakened Amir Drasil, and we got our shit kicked in by the first boss. Do not underestimate how hard things can be when you're undergeared.
Ellie.
Yep.
How difficult would it be for you to add a spot in the enchanting thing on the professions list that I can just put like disenchanters on it?
Fine. On the main page.
Yeah, probably.
Let me
Yeah,
make sure
because
this doesn't dox me.
my DK is spec into blues and my priest is spec into dust.
I can't believe how fast that doxed me. That's crazy. If you are a crafter and you're dedicated a lot of energy into maxing some specific crafting stuff, we have in the Discord, we have pinned Horizon Professions. Put in what you can craft and what level you can craft it at. If I am a tailor, which I am, make a new column, put your name in, check off anything that you can craft and how high you can craft it. This will help us a lot in terms of people figuring out what they should specialize in to balance out the team and balance out the guild so that we can make sure, okay, somebody's going to be able to make 5-star cloaks. Somebody's going to be able to make 5-star weapons.
Is this with or without concentration you want us to go by?
With concentration and any skill ups
Okay.
that you can put on.
Yeah. Are you capable of crafting a 5-star weapon? Put 5. Concentration, if it costs 300 concentration to do it, ouch, but it's still possible. You can be compensated for that. All right. So with that, that's our little short Prog get together for tonight. If you have more questions, I'll be sticking around for a while still, so you can keep asking. I'll probably make Ellie stay for at least another 15 minutes as well.
I do have a question about the profession sheet that we were just talking about.
Mhm.
Multiple people can access and update that at the same time, right? I don't have to worry about accidentally overwriting someone's.
Yeah, this is it's on Google Sheets, so it's live collaboration. You can even see where other people's like highlighted shit is and when they're typing. Just, only update your own column basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and anybody can add columns. So if it's within that range of where names and stuff are, you can just insert 2 columns right and then copy the 2 columns previous and paste it in there. So it'll get the checkboxes and stuff sorted out.
Roger. I'm still in the process of getting all of mine updated. I will try and get that done tonight.
As best you can. All right. For those of you who are waiting for me to say the magic words, thank you for coming. I look forward to seeing you Thursday for the classroom, where we're going to talk about the actual bosses in the raid. But more importantly, I'll see you on Tuesday for the actual raid opening. Everybody sacrifice a goat to make sure maintenance doesn't last too long so we can actually get in there.
And please have some pre-work done before Thursday, like some basic